In these perilous times, see from current events how biblical prophecy is coming to pass in front of our eyes. You're watching In the Last Days, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. With Martin and Natalie Blackham, thank you to our friends and partners who make this program possible. Now, here's Martin and Natalie.
Hi, welcome to the In the Last Days television program with myself, Martin Blackham. Natalie's behind the scenes today, but she says hello to you. We welcome you wherever you're watching across the world and our friends in the United Kingdom. We're very excited today to have Rabbi Dov Lipman, member of Knesset. Great to have you again in the studio. I know that so much appreciate you coming in, and I know that you're very short on time, so all the viewers are very excited that you're with us again today, because you were with us last week. And maybe I'll just quickly start the program off by asking you, because the nature of politics is that you're a member of the Yesh Atid party. The nature of politics is that you need to keep the ball rolling. How is that possible when you have so much work as a member of Knesset for Yesh Atid to keep the momentum as a party with its objectives and that fascinates me. Is there any time to the thing that got you there, is there any time to keep that going?
Right. Well, first of all, we as a party meet as a group once a week. Those meetings are critical because it's a time for us to join together, talk to one another, especially to the ministers in the government who we see less, and always try to make sure that we're focused on the overall goal. One of the things that we've learned is you can't go week by week analyzing how are we doing, what is the public saying. There's an overall picture. We have our platform, we have our goals, and there are going to be moments where the public is against what we're doing, or there'll be negativity, moments where there are great highs, but we're very, very focused on the overall goal. We also divided up responsibilities in the party, so each member of the party has a role to play in the overall platform, and therefore we know that on a daily basis, whatever we're involved with, we're really moving forward with our overall platform. So we're very satisfied. We've been just one session of 5 to 6 months, and we're very happy with what we've achieved so far.
We were talking last week about the challenges of living in Israel, and there's challenges just living here, and you've taken it to another level of the challenges of not just living in Israel, but of working in the Israeli government with all the different things there are to do. And then recently we had the Haredi, where they were handcuffed. One of I believe this is true, but one of the members of Knesset handcuffed himself to the podium.
Right.
There was another. They were ripping their shirts. There was a shofar sounding in the corridor. How was that?
Change is difficult. Adjusting is difficult, and I think that the ultra-Orthodox community, there are laws that are passed that are going to mean changes in their community. I always like to say it's actually not changes, but it's going back to the way it's always been. There's been an aberration in Israel. But for them, especially the members of parliament, it's a failure. Their role was to sort of preserve the way things have always been and not allow for any of these changes. And they resorted to certain gimmicks, which definitely got them into the press. I don't think it reflects the ultra-Orthodox street. I think that the average person wants their child to become part of society, remain Orthodox, remain fervently committed religiously, but have the opportunity to support themselves and be part of society. So there's a gap between the members of parliament and the average ultra-Orthodox person on the street, but it was entertaining to watch them carry on, that's for sure.
Now, one of the things, or the challenges of being in the Knesset, and with time, and we're all running against this object of time, but how do members of Knesset who are like yourself, who are rabbis, and how do you keep the spiritual element? And I was reading that you were reading, and I don't know if I can put my hand on it,
Daniel.
but yes, you were reading this in the mornings. Is that right?
So I'll explain. One of the things that your question right now is the greatest adjustment for me. I'm a rabbi. I was teaching biblical studies all day, and now all of a sudden I'm in an environment where I'm not at all. First of all, you have the prayer sessions 3 times a day, and that keeps me very grounded, especially the one in the middle of the day, the afternoon prayer. I just find that somehow taking that moment in the middle of a busy day to refocus, and it's obviously a pleasure being in a Jewish parliament, and we have the services are held in the building. There's a synagogue in the building. Study is more difficult. I try to find time every day to study. There was one night we were there all night for the budget where everyone was reading different things, and I was reading the book of Daniel. Actually, that was what I was doing that night, just kind of taking on that challenge. But it's very important to have a certain amount that you study every single day, and sometimes it might have to be during the car ride, going from place to place, but it is very important to have that, and that definitely keeps me grounded.
Now, the difficulties with the Haredi, and I think for the audience, I need to explain this a little bit, but the community, the ultra-Orthodox community, I believe this is the correct way of saying it, was exempt from military. I think it was Ben Gurion who, because they were a very small amount of people, they were exempt from military service, and really serving in Israel, they were allowed to study Torah and allowed to have yeshivas and Bible study, but they weren't expected to be involved in Israel. But of course, they've grown over the years. The amazing thing is that over the whole of Israel, really, they've grown as a community, but they haven't been involved in military service or in the workplace. And one of your roles has been to try and to change this.
Correct.
How's that going?
It's a challenge, number one. Let's remember when Prime Minister David Ben Gurion made that original deal, there were 400 young men who were scholars, Talmudic scholars, and they were exempt. We now have 60,000. That's a system that can't work. A country can't sustain tens of thousands who don't serve, don't work, aren't paying into the tax system and the like. But change has to happen slowly. The government has allocated hundreds of millions of shekalim, of shekels, to help them be trained to join the workforce. The army is creating special programs for the ultra-Orthodox in the military where they don't have to be exposed to things which are foreign to their life experiences, and all the adjustments are being made. So I think it's a historic time where these doors are opening. I work on a daily basis together with members of the ultra-Orthodox community to try to make sure that the transition happens in a positive type of way. There's a lot of negativity out there, there's no question about it, and it'll take time. Change takes time. I think it'll be a generation or two before it becomes mainstream. To be ultra-Orthodox the way it is in England or the way it is in the United States, where you are educated as well and you join the workforce and it's accepted. It'll take some time, but I'm very happy with how we're doing so far.
And the military service, that's not quite yet, is it? It's been put back for 4 years, is that right?
Well, we passed the law in its first reading. We now have it in committee, and I'm part of that special committee where the law might be tinkered with here and there a little bit. Then it'll go back to the Knesset for a second and third reading. The law says that the full draft really doesn't start for a few years. One of the reasons for that was so that the Army can build the programs that are necessary to absorb the Haredim into the military or national service options. So we want to do it right, and that's why there's a few-year gap. Now,
just as we're coming to the studio today, we have the situation where there's been missiles fired from Gaza and also from Egypt. Now that you're in the Knesset, how are things going with the situations, and how is Israel dealing with? Well, first, I mean, it's got multi-fronts. You've got Syria in the north, and you've got Egypt with Al Qaeda possibly in the south. You've got Gaza with Hamas. It seems like multi-fronted.
Yeah, well, Israel, even if you go back to the Bible, we've always been surrounded on all sides by people who want to destroy us. That's just the reality of our situation. It's much easier, now that I understand from a government level, when you know who your enemy is. Meaning, in Gaza, so we know that it's Hamas, we know how to deal with Hamas. Even in Iran, where it's obviously the greatest threat, but we know what we're dealing with, and there's a plan in place to deal with it. When it's unknowns, that's when it's more complicated. So Syria, for example, where you don't know what's going to be, where it's going to go, who's really behind what, that makes it much more difficult as a government to really have a thought-out plan. Egypt as well, there's a little bit of unknown. Again, we have a sense of direction, but certainly the Sinai is a little bit of a chaotic situation. That makes it much more complicated. The one thing I can say from the inside is that we have very good people who are committed to our security, who are knowledgeable, who know. I'll put my rabbi hat on for the moment. There's a God above who has protected us in every situation so far, and therefore I don't have a sense of fear or ongoing tension. You don't feel that in the building. This has been Israel's lot from the time it was founded, and therefore we know how to deal with situations, and the right people will deal with them.
And maybe you can, if you didn't see the program last week, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it was like, your first day in the Knesset, because Rabbi Dov Lipman's just been elected as a member of Knesset, a member of the Israeli Parliament. So, what was it like your first day there?
I must say that the first day we went for the orientation, and they send you to the special parking lot, and you park in your space, and you walk through this door where you've seen over the years videos greeting dignitaries and the like, and all of a sudden you realize this is me. It's very there's awe, first of all. You have to remain grounded, and I'm just a human being who's been sent here to do a job. The moment that really hit me was walking into the plenum room, the actual room where we have session the first time, because I know how many decisions of tremendous magnitude took place here, and visitors who came, and remarkable things, and I actually stood at the door and I was just like overwhelmed for a moment. That passes. Now we're there a few times a week, and I have my seat, and you go and you work there. But every once in a while, I try to remind myself of just how special it is, and what a blessing it is to have this role, to have our own parliament, that we have self-determination, that we can play a role in determining. For thousands of years, we haven't had that. We've been tossed and turned, and rulers did whatever they wanted with us as a people, and now we can play a role in determining that. A very special moment in the opening session was when they had somebody read from Psalms. I think that was very, very powerful for me, because it's a secular government in orientation in general. A lot of those secular people are very traditional and very spiritual in nature, and for me that was very heartwarming to experience, and I hope the awe and overall feeling of the blessing never goes away.
Is there also a sense of the weight of responsibility?
When I was sitting in the room on Inauguration Day, and the way it works is every single member is called out in alphabetical order, and you stand up and you say, "I obligate myself." As they were going around the room, it was the first moment where I felt this unbelievable weight on my shoulders. Like, I'm about to stand up and say that I obligate myself to this role. And I thought about three communities when I take my words very seriously. So before I said it, I thought about my hometown of Beit Shemesh. I'm the first member of parliament in the history of the city, so to represent them well. I thought about the almost 200,000 English speakers in Israel who have not had representation in the Knesset for decades. And I thought about the ultra-Orthodox who want to be part of the workforce and want to serve in the military, who have not had a member of Knesset either. And I really thought about those communities, and I said, I obligate myself, and I really felt this weight on my shoulders to do the job, and I feel it every day.
Now, coming from America as an English-speaking Jewish person, you represent the Anglos. And have you got much activities at the moment with regards to that? I know you're going to Washington, right. But for Anglo-speaking Jewish people in Israel?
Absolutely. Our inbox is filled with people who feel that they can finally send a message to a member of Knesset in English and get a response. And we're there to serve them, and we do everything we can. Sometimes you can't, and there's a difficult feeling when you know that I can't do anything, but we try to help everyone we can. Every Sunday morning I hold constituent hours, which I didn't realize beforehand, but no other members of Knesset do. It's part of the American culture, I think, where you had your congressman who you could turn to, and a large percentage, not all, of the people who come for the constituent hours are also English speakers. And I sit on the committee for immigration, absorption, and diaspora affairs, and in that role we've done a lot as well to try to help make progress on some of the challenges for English-speaking immigrants. So thank God, in a half a year I really feel that we've done a tremendous amount, and there's certainly a whole lot more to do.
And one of the issues you've had with the Haredi is that not everybody is happy about the legislation and everything. How do you deal, and now that you're a public figure, how do you deal with the criticism when sometimes it's not personal, they're just not happy that things are changing, and how do you deal with that?
The first thing I learned this very quickly in politics, is that no matter what decision you make about any issue, close to 50% of the population will be against it. You think you're doing the greatest thing. And I think to myself, in the United States, if a president wins an election of 52 to 48, that's a landslide. You talk about society, people have different opinions. And so I always remind myself of that the criticism is natural. People are going to have their opinions. And that's on the ultra-Orthodox issues, I just keep my eye on the people that I'm helping. And all those young people who are now given the opportunity to go to work and sustain their families with dignity. And I know that we're not forcing them to be any less religious, any less observant. And I just really focus on that, and I sort of tune out a lot of the negativity.
Now, for the viewers who are watching, some of you may not understand all the issues. What you're saying is you're not saying that they can't go to study at yeshiva. What you're saying is that it's important for them to serve in the army and to be part of the workforce after they've done yeshiva study. Is that right?
Correct. First of all, a very important part of our law is that even when the draft kicks in, every ultra-Orthodox young man can study until age 22. So those are a few years after high school when they can focus exclusively on their spirituality and on their studies, really build themselves up before they go out. But even when they go out to the army, it could be within a program that's geared towards the ultra-Orthodox with study sessions every day and prayer services every day and all kinds of different kosher certifications to meet their needs. So there's no level at all of anybody being asked to be less religious or to give up on studying, and everyone has the opportunity to be a full scholar, and there's no issue with that.
Now, what lessons have you, because you've just finished the first session, I believe, of the Israeli Parliament. What lessons have you learnt in the first session?
The number one lesson is that I remember vividly, as a regular citizen, seeing people's ideologies and making it personal, hating them. How can this person believe this? What a horrible, rotten, wicked person, and the like. And now I'm in Parliament, and you meet them, and they're wonderful people. They're good people. They're fathers and their mothers, and they're good people. They believe what their ideology is best for Israel and best for the Jewish people. And that's a very, very important message, to separate between what might be political disagreements or ideological differences and the human side of it. That's number one. Alongside of that, very often there's a room that no one sees behind the plenum where they have couches and there's coffee for us, and you might see two members of Parliament screaming at each other in Parliament, and 5 minutes later they're sitting on the couch having a coffee together and working together. And that's also, there's politics, there's the human side, there's a lot more behind the scenes working together, and that's critical. And the last thing is just how difficult it is. We're all human beings, from the Prime Minister through a freshman member of Parliament. We're human beings. There's no God doesn't come down and crown someone with some prophecy all of a sudden, and people will make mistakes. And that's part of it also, is to understand that people make mistakes. Most of the people I've met are not in any way just out to promote themselves. They're really trying to do what's best for the country, and that's been the number one lesson for sure. And
I saw that, I think we were talking about this, you were reading from the book of Daniel, but I also saw, Rabbi Dov, you were reading from the book, and I'm going to have to be careful how I pronounce it, the Mesilat Yesharim. Is that right?
Okay, so I try every day to study a little bit of a book called the Mesilat Yesharim, which is the Pathway of the Just, which is keeps me grounded. It's very much reminds you that this is all about serving God and sanctifying God's name and being a straightforward person. And I think that the greatest risk or threat in politics is you can be pulled sometimes to be untruthful. And I pride myself on being a person of truth, and I always want to be making sure that I'm on the right line in terms of honesty and being upright, and that's a book which helps keep me focused on that.
And as we were talking about, I think it was on the last program, about the Olim and the Nefesh Ben Nefesh, and you recently had the opportunity to welcome them from the United States to come to Israel, and had all that emotion, and it must be amazing for you to have come the whole distance, really.
I have 2 words for all of you. Welcome home. 9 years ago, almost to the day, I was sitting where you are sitting now. And I first must take this opportunity to publicly, for the first time, thank Rabbi Fass and Tony Gelbart and the incredible Nefesh B'Nefesh staff Without all that you did for us, I would not be standing here today. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I recall like yesterday sitting where you are, exhausted from a long and tiring flight, excited about a new beginning, nervous and anxious about all the unknowns, already missing the comfort of family members on the other side of the ocean, and anticipating the conclusion of the speeches so we can get on with building our new lives. So I'll be very brief. I want all of you to take a moment and take all this in and remember this scene. If you don't do what I'm telling you right now, it'll just be a blur and you'll have trouble remembering the experience. So I ask all of you, catch your breath for a moment, pinch yourselves, and internalize what has happened. And let's all of us think together, both veterans and New Olim, and really take this in. Hodu LaHashem Ki Tov, Ki Leolam Chasto. After 2,000 years of our ancestors wandering from country to country and suffering nearly every one of them, you have been blessed with the merit of coming back home. And yes, this is your home in every sense of the word. Many of you have already experienced the challenges which await you while simply trying to get a visa to make Aliyah, but there are many more challenges ahead. Chazal teach us that the land of Israel is one of the three things which are acquired with great difficulty. As we say in modern times, no pain, no gain. But once you know that these challenges lie ahead, and once you know that everything won't go as planned, you can cope and overcome those challenges while seeing the wonders and the beauty of living in the land of Israel all around you. Israel embraces you, Israelis love you, and you are now part of a family much larger than any of you could have ever imagined. We are all here to help you in every way we can and want nothing more than you to succeed in your absorption into Israeli society. And this leads me to my last but critical point. I ask all of you to believe in yourselves and believe in your children. Look at all the wonderful children who arrived here today. Believe in them and dream big. You know, all of us were taught growing up that the Magic Kingdom is in Orlando. That was false advertising. David HaMelech said, Shir HaMa'alot B'shuv Adonai Shivat Zion Hayinu Kicholmim. The return of the Jewish people to Zion is like a dream. Let me tell you about dreams. Growing up in Silver Spring, Maryland, we would go to the Russian embassy in Washington, D.C. a few times a year to demonstrate on behalf of our brothers and sisters who were trapped behind the Iron Curtain, many of them languishing in prisons in Siberia. One of those times, nearly 30 years ago, I vividly remember they gave us signs to hold up, and I stood there as a young American kid, and I held a sign which said, Free Yuli Edelstein. Talk about dreams. Today, a few decades later, 9 years after walking off a Nefesh B'Nefesh flight with my wife and children, I'm going from here to sit in the Israeli Knesset as a member of the parliament, and sitting in the front of the room, and the speaker of the Knesset is Yuli Edelstein. Hayinu Kecholmim. This is the Magic Kingdom. This is all a dream. So dream. Think big, believe in yourself, believe in your children, and take a moment every single day to thank God for this remarkable opportunity, the unthinkable dream, which all of us have been granted, and been granted to all of us by Kadosh Baruch Hu. Once again, welcome home and hatzlacha to all of you. Thank you very much.
It's an honor. The people, the great people who work at Nefesh B'Nefesh. I would not be here in Israel without Nefesh B'Nefesh. It's an organization which helps primarily North Americans, but also other English speakers to make Aliyah and to move to Israel. And they came to visit me in my office, and they had a gift wrapped up, and they opened up the gift, and it was a framed picture of my family coming off the plane.
Wow.
Which I didn't have. It was somehow in their archives, and they found it. And you know, my son, who's now in 11th grade, was in 2nd grade, and our baby, who was 2 months old in the baby seat, is now 9 years old and going into 4th grade. And it was overwhelming to see that and to realize how far we've come, and an opportunity to pause and give thanks to God for all of His blessings. That's for sure.
I know that many of you at home will want to thank Rabbi Dov Lipman for coming in today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And
Thank
congratulations. They want to congratulate you. I know there are a lot of people who've been watching us on the program, who've been watching you. They saw you campaigning, and when we had you on. So congratulations from them, from all our viewers, and we pray and wish you the best as you continue in the Parliament. It'd be great to see you again when you get time. We're very short time. He's got to rush off now. Been great to be with you today. Don't forget to visit the website www.inthelastdays.com and email info@inthelastdays.com. Remember, we're living in the last days.
You've been watching In the Last Days, a TV program with Martin and Natalie Blackham, the program that looks at Israel and the end times with teaching from a Hebraic perspective. If you would like to financially support the program or find out about conferences, meetings or ministry products, then please contact us with the details on your screen. Visit our easy-to-use website at www.inthelastdays.com and register for our free e-newsletter. Get the latest news from Israel, product information, online video teaching, or watch today's TV program at a time that's convenient to you. Thank you again, friends and partners, for making this program possible.
See you same time, same station for the next program from In the Last Days.